Welcome to episode 38 of Philosochat. I have a very special guest with me today, which is Styx Hexenhammer 666. This is a man I've wanted to speak to for some time. Absolute pleasure to have him on the show. We also have Philosochat regular Michael Black, who I'm always happy to speak to. Great to have him on the show as well. And we will be discussing the occult, which is something which I wanted to talk about with Styx for some time. In fact, ever since I started talking about the occult on my channel, I've been told many times, you need to speak to Styx. So this is happening, and I'm very, very happy about that. So I will welcome my two esteemed guests to the show. Let's start with you, Styx. Thank you very much for coming on to Philosochat.
Thank you very much for having me on.
And Michael Black, how are you this evening?
I'm doing well. Thank you very much for asking. It's always a pleasure and an honor to speak with yourself and our esteemed guest today as well.
And also, it's great to bring you two gents together because there aren't many people on YouTube who talk about the occult, at least not that I know of. There are a few. I mean, short of getting Mark Passio on the show talking in this live stream, I personally don't think it gets much better. So I think a lot of people, there was some excitement about you two being on the same stream as well. So on that note, though, since Styx I've never spoken to Styx before, and this is his first time on Philosochat, let me ask him what I ask all my guests, why he does what he does, why he creates his content, and how he would describe himself politically. So why do you create your content? Why do you have your YouTube channel? What's the purpose of it, in other words? And how you would describe yourself politically or indeed spiritually, because what we will be talking about is, what we will be discussing today in particular is related to spiritualism.
Well, the last question I'll answer first because it's very simple. I'm basically a pagan occultist. Politically speaking, I would say I'm a libertarian after a sort, constitutionalist. I don't lean left or right. At this point, those have ceased to really mean anything. So that's fairly easy to answer. As far as why I'm on YouTube, at this point, I'm reaching an inordinate number of people. I never expected to have anywhere near the audience I have now, not even a tenth of it. But it basically just became a habit. When I first arrived on the scene on YouTube in 2007, it was basically just, hey, I'm bored. I'm going to start a YouTube channel. All the cool kids are doing it. You can put videos up. Wow. All I have to do is get a webcam. And I sort of hooked it up, played with the effects, popped a few videos on. A few people watched it and commented and stuff. And I was like, whoa, I can connect with other people here in video form. This is amazing. And I still think that to this day. A little bit less now with the latest waves of censorship. But I think it's a great platform. It has a potential to be even greater over time, assuming that it can actually tame its own censorship desires. But yeah, that's basically why I'm here. I want to educate people and I want to entertain people. I think that's the purpose that YouTube was for in the beginning.
And of course, so you've been on YouTube for a very long time. You're one of the people who have been on YouTube longer than I have, and I've been on for some time. And obviously, your success on your channel has kind of skyrocketed fairly recently, within the last 2 years. Is that about right?
Yeah, not even quite 2 years. Basically, since the election, because of my predictions. That and a combination of that and the fact that some of my fans used 4chan and they put that material on there. It kept going viral over and over for months. And so it sort of steamrolled, myself up into the stratosphere as far as audience went. I was riding at, I think, 30,000 subscribers before the election. And then by the time the year switched over, it was almost 100,000 people. It was amazing. And now it's over 200,000.
It's amazing. That is amazing. In fact, I think bar Sargon of Akkad, you are the biggest YouTuber I've ever spoken to on this channel. But let's go into some of your background then, so people can get some perspective. Something that comes up a lot is the fact that you're an ex-Satanist, which you've had to make clear several times. You are an ex-Satanist. I mean, saying that, Mark Passio, who is, I have to say, I've learned a lot from. He is an ex-Satanist too. So that's something interesting about you. Do you want to talk about that briefly then? The fact that you're an ex-Satanist?
Yeah, I was an independent Satanist. I never joined the Church of Satan or any other order. I don't believe in a literal Satan. I never did. Even when I was actually a Christian, I was like, I don't know about that story particularly. It doesn't seem to be big in the Bible anyway, as far as the hell thing went. As far as I was concerned, it was literally an atheistic or agnostic path. It was a mockery of Christianity, and it was basically a good time. It was basically trolling. It was atheism with a floor show, and it was kind of funny. I progressed past that, though. I realized, looking back at my past, I was like, oh, I have sort of had spiritual experiences. I had additional experiences with psychedelics, and I sort of became a pagan and an occultist at that time because I could no longer deny the fact that spirituality had validity within my life. Not religion, not theism, maybe. I don't really care about that.
For example, because I would call myself a cultural Christian, and to me, I just can't bring myself to get involved with organized Christianity because I think it's deeply corrupt. But there is something about Christianity in its kind of core form that appeals to me, for example. So go on.
Yeah, if a person is just worshiping whatever God they happen to believe in, it's not problematic. It's a good thing, actually. It can prolong their life. It can definitely make their life better. It can make them a better person. But once they join up with a religion, all some priest or pastor has to do is feed them some lath spell, a corruption, and they can do crazy things.
Yeah, and another interesting thing about you, which I'd like to ask you about, is how you know Nicholas and Zina Schreck. Zina Schreck actually is the daughter of Anton LaVey. Yep. And in fact, Michael Black, I know you know Zina Schreck, I believe, as well. So yeah, if you can tell us a bit about that, Styx, and then you can as well, Michael.
Yeah, I actually, here's a funny story. I was posting music from Radio Werewolf, along with the documentary that Nicholas had made, Charles Manson Superstar, which I think it's one of the best documentaries I've ever seen. It's extremely in-depth, especially for the period. We're talking the 80s. I like the 80s anyway, so that's sort of why I found it. But I was posting this material, and their legal representative contacted me saying, hey, Nicholas and Zina sort of want this taken down. I'm like, oh, I'm sorry about that. I didn't know that they were even active online. Yeah, I'll take it down. And then it sort of went from there. I was in contact, actually, saying, hey, I'm a big fan. I respect them. If you want something taken down, you want me to take the music down too? And he's like, no. And then I ended up contacting them. I spoke with each of them, I think, 3 or 4 different times on various subjects, their music, some of the art, Charles Manson, of course, the occult. And it was quite interesting. They've got a lot to offer to the world, I think. Actually, I think they actually teach classes about this. I think they converted to Buddhism, but Zina, but Zina, and I'm not sure Nicholas, but I know Zina is also a Setian. She practices that particular pagan path within the occult as well.
Interesting. Maybe we can get into that shortly as well. Michael, you've mentioned in the past that you know Zina. You know Zina Schreck, is that correct?
Yes, but not very deeply. However, we have had conversations in the past over her conversion to Tibetan Buddhism. And specifically, the primary conversation that I recall very vividly was over the Buddhist teacher and philosopher Milarepa, who went through this period in his life. And I think it's very, very useful for people to know about this, that this guy was one of the greatest Tibetan magicians of his time in the typical magic traditions of Tibet. And he caused a lot of suffering through his life for the initial period. Then when he attained enlightenment, he began to realize his follies and proceeded to try and repair the damage and thus enlighten the world and hopefully pull humanity towards the true path of goodness, as it were. So those conversations were very, very illuminating, I found.
Okay, yes, so that's a bit of background there. So as I said, Zina Schreck and Nicholas Schreck, they were associated with Satanism for a little while. I thought that was quite interesting. We will get back into Satanism at some point. I would like to talk about that a little bit more. But let's start with some definitions, because I think